I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:31. May I have a roll call, please?
Gina Flores,
Present.
Dolores Rivera,
Here.
Aaron Simental,
Present.
Patrice Stanzioni,
Present.
Armando Barajas.
Mr. Barajas will join us at 6:10, close to.
Thank you. Dr. Alejandro Alvarez,
Present.
Dr. Medina Canart,
Present.
Maricela Barba,
Present.
Tomiko Lino Nolasco.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. May I get an approval to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of December 13th with the following corrections? Correction to item number 4. Board member Simental voted yes on the nomination for Ms. Rivera to be nominated as Vice President to the Board of Education. And, okay,
That's for the minutes.
this is for the minutes. Okay, and discussion and action item number 10, correction to item number 2. Mr. Simental voted no on the item number 2, retroactive salary increase for former management, confidential, and other unrepresented employees for the 21-22 school year. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes with those changes of the agenda? Motion by Mr. Simental, seconded by Ms. Stanzioni. Can I get a roll call vote? Aye. Aye. Okay. May I get an approval for the agenda of the regular board meeting of today, January 24th, 2023? Motion by Board Member Stanzioni, seconded by Board Member Rivera. Can I get a roll call? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on to open session, we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance, and Ms. Stephanie Mendoza, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I'd also like to ask that after the Pledge of Allegiance, we remain standing, have a moment of silence for the victims of the Monterey Park shooting, as well as Half Moon Bay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Okay.
Don Julian announcements. Don Julian had a great turnout for our Winter Christmas program and our December Student of the Month on January 13th. We recognized 34 students for Student of the Month and Citizen of the Month. Just completed iReady Diagnostic for grades 1 to 5 in December. Our staff has been working on disaggregating the scores and data. Grades 6 to 8 just completed their iReady Diagnostic on January 20th. We're looking forward to some positive growth. Our teachers grades 3 to 8 participated in the social science textbook adoption on Wednesday, January 18th. We have the 100th day of school coming up on February 2nd. Church Middle School. Our Trojans have been busy this past semester working on their math and literacy, which is evidenced by the large number of students who will be honored this week during our first semester award ceremony. Our teachers are hard at work during their PLC time, working to refine their instructional practices and current student data. Our garden club is up and running and is open to all TMS students. Our Trojans have also been wrapping up fall sports, volleyball and football. We are also excited to announce the beginning of basketball season and cheerleading. Come on out and support our Trojan Scholar athletes. It's a great day to be a Trojan. Edgewood announcements. We are happy to see students transition smoothly from the winter break ready to learn. Our brave Knights have demonstrated their academic grit, having shown growth in each grade level on their iReady Diagnostic number 2. This past week, we rewarded our students who demonstrated being brave Knights with a PBIS party. 306 of our students participated in watching a movie and enjoying treats. Each of them earned 40 or more PBIS tickets to be eligible. On Monday, we held our spirit assembly that recognized our students who demonstrated being engaged learners. Lastly, ASB is preparing for a Valentine's fundraiser that will kick off in the next week. Suncrest Elementary announcements. We would like to welcome the principal from Suncrest Elementary, Ms. Megan Esquer. She has decided to be the new principal of Suncrest Elementary School, of the college-bound Tigers. She is honored to join this amazing Tiger team and community. She has been in education for over 20 years, serving as a Head Start preschool, elementary school teacher, and middle school assistant principal. As the principal of Suncrest Elementary, she is committed to supporting a safe, positive, and inclusive learning environment for her students. She firmly believes in making valuable connections with her students, families, and Tiger staff. Bassett High School announcement. After only 2 weeks back from break, Bassett has been really productive. The first week back, juniors took their mock ICA and results were outstanding. We believe that by April, they will be more than ready to take the state test toward the end of the year. Our amazing ASB team also hosted our Winter Sports Rally, where the theme was Marble. We have another upcoming Renaissance Rally where we are hoping to give out numerous awards to acknowledge our Olympians. Our wrestling team is doing exceptionally well and working hard to appreciate.
Thank you, Ms. Mendoza. Okay, moving right along, we'll go into, public comments related to closed session. First speaking, we have Ms. Sullivan. Oh, wait, hold on. This is the appropriate time in the agenda for those present to speak with regards to only closed session items on the agenda. Only topics specific to the actual closed session item will be heard at this time. Topics which do not address closed session items will not be heard during this time and will be heard during open session comments. The board has allotted a total time of 20 minutes for public input on closed session items. Ms. Sullivan?
Good evening, board and Bassett community. I forgot to sign in from now on, because of my pronouns, I'm going to be asking everybody to call me she, who knows. She is right, and you may refer to me as your highness. And if not, I'm going to file complaints because I will feel offended. If this is taking our schools, then maybe it should be spread to community too. I want to speak specifically in technology and the negotiations. I know Dr. Rojas was a thief, and, you know, he's been held accountable, but I did not know he took technology with him. I had the fortune or misfortune of sitting at a meeting with a parent and a teacher and Mr. Vasquez at the high school, and we were told they couldn't show the parents' work because now we're going back to paper and pencil. And when we question why would that be, it's because, the children, you know, the children don't want to be sitting in the computer. You know, I also gonna ask my daughter if we should pay the mortgage or have a party. You know, let's start considering what children want. That's in front of the principal, this was said, and I was there. So I'm not exactly sure the negotiations, but the parents at Sunkist are losing it too, and the teachers are panties because they're told to engage in computers and technology because that's the wave of the future. You cannot even apply for McDonald's unless you touch a computer, but the audacity to go back to paper and pencil because the children, what else do the children want? Why aren't they here? Because we need to ask them. That negotiation has to be addressed because our kids can't even do a presentation, PowerPoints. I don't even think they can copy and paste. We don't have those statistics. What are we doing? We're sending them not college ready, but on top of it, computer illiterate. Those negotiations have to be, this is not just me, you all know that this needs to be done. And that visit I did put in, that was the answer that I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Next, we have Mr. Joe Carrillo.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joseph Carrillo, CSU President. Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome back, incumbent board members. Congratulations, and congratulations to new board members. Tonight, we have our initial proposals for Sunshine on the agenda. We encourage a yes vote to proceed with the articles brought forward to you today. We look forward to a productive and respectful negotiations year with our counterparts from the district. Last week, we attended the governor's budget workshop together, and this year's governor's proposal is the best I have ever seen. For declining enrollment districts such as ours, we will continue to apply an ADA 3-year average to soften declining enrollment. TK will now be fully funded. There are new monies for high schools over 85% free and reduced meal and all other schools at 90% over. We will be certifying with a district-wide percentage of 91.6 this year. Lastly, there will be an unprecedented 8.13% COLA increase. I think we can all agree those are some pretty great things for us. However, we need to also highlight the challenges of the past year. In fact, to cite School Services of California, the private sector is experiencing a staffing crisis, which is pressurizing the acute staffing needs for highly qualified classified professionals. The private industry is also directly competing with LEA job opportunities, which is causing attrition and depleted candidate pools. We have seen and felt this here at Bassett. Let's not lose any more longtime Bassett employees to other districts or local fast food restaurants. We are better. We are Bassett. We need to put our funds to work by providing competitive wages and health plans that don't cost our families $1,000 a month. So board members and district administration, I am excited that we have an opportunity together to make Bassett the best place to work in the area with competitive wages and an amazing benefits package. Let's get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carrillo. Right along. Okay, so therefore, at this time, Okay. Board members, I'd like to ask, we only have 2 people for open session. Are you okay if we allow the open session comments? Okay, so we're going to go a little bit different. We're going to allow the 2 have signed up for open session comments out of respect for your time. Actually, when we go to closed session, it can take longer. So with that said, Ms. Sullivan, wait, I have to read it again. Okay.
Don't forget your kindness.
Okay.
I'm not kidding, if our children are doing that, not let's do it.
Okay. The Board of Education welcomes input from the public in order to conduct business in an orderly manner for the privacy and safety of the speakers and to help staff respond more directly. The board policies require that public presentation to the board comply with certain procedures, including speakers may only address items that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. When addressing the board, please, the speakers are requested to state their name, address, address the board from the podium, and adhere to the applicable time limit of 3 minutes. The total time allotted for public input on either agenda or non-agenda items is 20 minutes. If there are several speakers on a given topic, at the president's request, the board may reduce the time the individuals may speak, requesting the comments be limited to points not already addressed. Speakers may not reserve or grant any portion of their speaking time to other people. Speakers are requested to maintain order, decorum, and not disrupt the meeting or use profanity when addressing the board. Complaints should follow the district's complaint procedure before discussion with the board. With that said, Ms. Sullivan, you are up first.
My acronym,
Excuse me?
you guys are.
Her Royal Highness.
Oh,
Her Royal Highness.
yeah.
Just call her HR.
No, Your Highness, I like it,
Oh,
you're right,
Royal
it's better. But anywho, community, I wanted to address that it's actually none of my business how you all pay your teachers, because they have a big, powerful union that, good Lord, stomps on everybody, it bulldozes them. It's amazing to me they cannot negotiate a little pay for that tells you their focus. So as a member of the community that advocated for all kinds of taxes to be put on our properties, I would like to revisit perhaps the performance of the teachers. we have to reward them, because at one time, we rewarded that teacher, the real good math teacher at the high school, that the district kicked in $20,000 as an incentive. I was there, because, he got awarded because he was really teaching. So, nobody said nothing. Why can't that work for all of the good teachers? But, you all need to also address the non-performing, the ones that are holding everybody down the line. And that has to be addressed. That's for the union to advocate, not me. But it's about time that we stop hearing this year and decade after decade about the pay. It has to be addressed. There was an issue in one of our committees, and I was deferred to Human Resources, and Nolasco. I was going to bring it to you, the uniform complaint procedure paper, whatever that is, UP something. I actually had a copy at home, because I went and looked. I did not make it a point to carry all the complaint forms, but I guess this year I have to do Williams, the UPS, all of them, just in case it arrives. It's very specific in the bottom there. It lists what you can file complaint, and it literally says money, federal money, anything affected with that, local and federal. So that form should have been given to me to file against how it was conducted. But I'm gonna let it go, because we're addressing it in a different form, so that's important. We cannot continue to bash our parents because they're constantly there, board meetings, or asking why their kids are not succeeding. But then when they don't show up, we just say they don't care. You can't speak from both morphosis. It is not acceptable. The LCAP is very specific when it says that you will engage community, you will engage parents, you will have their input, and you will do everything possible by standing on your head in the corner to make this work for the children. It's not that you're coming and kissing us or begging us. It's for the children. The purpose, you're all sitting here and enjoying maybe a cup of coffee or pictures or conferences, and then you get to be somebody. Because without those children, none of you are nobody. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Highness. Moving right along, I'd like to have Mr. Frank Torres, and Frank Morales.
Frank Morales. I was on this up here from 03 to 07, and you guys changed this stuff, but there's no audience anymore. That's not a good thing. The one thing I want to bring up first of all is, if you would, somebody, it's hard to get here at 5:30 when you get off at 5 o'clock from downtown LA or Universal Studios. So I'd like to see that being changed. But I came up to talk about the FITSMAT report. And I know it's a sore thing, but you know, one of the things that I read that I didn't like was one of your fellow board members, how he lied. He fraudulently submitted paperwork. What really, really bothers me is him and his cronies made Barbara Molina's life crappy for 2 years. Somewhere, somehow, somebody needs to apologize to that young lady.
Good luck. They don't apologize to me.
That's funny, because you don't comment from back there. Anyway, things have changed since I was sitting on the board. But you need to apologize, somebody does, Paul does. After all this that he has done to this district, he was a cancer like a few other people. He's got puppets in here. Well, the cancer is gone now. All you need to do now is move forward. ADA has been dropped from almost 2,000 students, and I was first sworn in here. We need to do something about that. I love this district. I don't live it anymore, but I love it. I worked hard. I worked for my students, and I worked for the employees, because that was my job. The schools, that was the principal and the superintendent. Mr. Superintendent, I hear you're doing a great job. Continue it. It's great to have somebody sitting in the chair that doesn't or isn't a puppet to somebody. We've had some terrible board members who have no idea what they were doing. I've forgotten more than they ever learned. We had superintendents that were puppets, and that's sad. We still have puppets in the district. We need to get rid of those cancer cells. You either quit or you change your tune, because this district's going to start moving forward. Ms. Flores, I'm understanding you're going to do a hell of a job as a president. If anything I can do, I will help. The other question I had is, unfortunately, is one of the board members, I applaud you, you asked for an investigation into Dalterra. Dalterra is a terrible organization. I know firsthand, I've seen that in other districts and talking with them. And you made a good deal of looking into them. But later on in the report, it says that you voted for their contract. That in itself threw up a bunch of red flags, me reading it, because I read it all. So I know everything going on. I've always known what was going on in Bassett, because I still have my friends in here. They know that I truly love this district and the students.
Mr. Morales, your 3 minutes are up. Thank you so
But
much.
I thank you very much. Good luck to you all.
Moving right along, the board will move into closed session. Can I get a motion to move into closed session at 5:52? Motion by Mr. Simental, second by Ms. Stanzioni. The board will go into closed session. Oh, roll call vote. Aye. 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 Okay, definitely. The board is reconvening to open session at 7:26. May I have a report of action taken in closed session? Mr. Cimental?
Madam President, in closed session on motion of Mr. Barajas and seconded by Ms. Santioni, on a vote of 5 members to approve and 0 members opposed, governing board took action to approve a settlement for claim number ASBY-012424 by compromise and release for up to $20,000 with a resignation to include all future medical. Closed session on a motion by Ms. Rivera and seconded by Mr. Barajas, on a vote of 5 members to approve and 0 members opposed, the governing board took action to reject 2110107 578 defined as one month.
Thank you, Mr. Cimental. Moving right along, staff presentation information. The first item is the California Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting. I'll say that 5 times Okay, apologies, we're going to bring it to the next board meeting. So, moving right along then, well, that was pretty fast. So moving right along, let's go to the California dashboard.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Board President, Flores, members of the board, those, everyone else here, those in the community. I shall try to speak into the mic. Test. Yes. Oh, I don't know if we can raise the volume or not. So, thank you again and good evening, everyone. I'm going to be presenting today the California School Dashboard specific to the Bastrop Unified School District. Accountability for school districts has changed a lot since even when I started teaching back 20 plus years ago, almost 30 now, getting close to it. But accountability really has changed from, I would say almost not really a lot of accountability or very informal accountability to being more formalized and the different types of assessments being given, whether it was a SAT-9, Stanford test, all these different tests that were given to determine, academic growth, and starting to hold school districts accountable and school sites about academic progress of our children and the students we serve, even to measuring tools to measure overall with No Child Left Behind. We had I can't believe I just drew a blank on the measurement for, we had the CST, the California Standards Test. And then we had, looking at growth, we had what we called the Bubble Kids, the AYP, API, all these different acronyms that were used by the state that were developed on how to monitor the academic growth of students, where they were and how they grew each year, and the expectation of how many points they should be growing. Since the LCFF was brought in, the local control funding formula, one of the newer changes, and that was eventually adopted, is this California dashboard, where there are several criteria or priorities that are tied within the LCAP that we'll find here on the California dashboard. And I like to refer it as a school district and individual school site report card. Every year, based on these indicators that the state is putting on the districts to monitor, we get kind of graded. So I'm going to go on to the next slide. And so what is the California dashboard? The California dashboard is and you have this presentation in front of you. The California dashboard is a powerful online tool that displays the performance of local educational agencies, which often referred to as LEAs, schools, and student groups on the set of state and local measures to assist in identifying strengths, challenges, and areas in need of improvement. So what this is saying is that, this is a tool that's online available to everyone, that clearly outlines, based on these state and local measures, how these school districts and schools are doing, how they should be improving, and specific to not just overall all your kids at your school and your district, but breaks these students down into groups based on how many you have within your school district. And I think the criteria is 30 or more. And so you break down to, depending on your population, most school districts have like a high, maybe a low socioeconomic student population. English learners, if you have a certain percentage, then you would get kind of a grade on that, how they're doing, or you're required on those measures. If you have a high foster youth, African-American population, special ed, those are the kind of student groups we start talking about that the state starts looking at. So what are these state and local measures? So as far as the state, it's all data that's collected by the state. Things that we're required to do by them, that all that data gets uploaded to their servers and their data systems. And so, for example, academic performance, right now all the kids take the CAS test. That includes probably our LPAC, and so that's what they use for academic performance. Chronic absenteeism, we know that all our attendance is recorded in our system, and it's all uploaded into CalPads. College and career, and that really focuses on the type of courses kids are taking at the high school level, and it's not just the type of courses, it's also successfully completing. That includes whether or not they're taking AP courses, are they passing the AP classes, the AP tests? If not, are they in a pathway? Are they completing those pathways? I think there's one more I'm missing, but I can't. Leadership roles are on the campus, kind of extracurricular services are providing. All those are kind of tied into college and career, which includes even some of our dual enrollment classes with Mount SAC. Obviously, English learner progress, as we have English learners enroll in our district, depending on their level of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how are they progressing, going from one level to the next, being redesignated, and also how they're doing academically in these different areas. Graduation rates, obviously how many of our kids are graduating based on the A through G requirements, and then our suspension rate. One of the things that they've been looking at is obviously that we're not over suspending kids for just basic stuff. I guess if you're a classroom teacher, basic may not be basic, but sometimes they found that, they found that kids were being suspended for things that maybe were a little more minor than severe. And so they started tracking how our kids are being suspended and how often. And then once again, these subgroups that I talked about, low income, you have a high, Latino, Hispanic, African American, Asian, all those different groups depending on how many. And all that also gets reported through our student information system and gets uploaded into the CalPads, and that's how the state gets that data. The local indicators are data that we really collect here. There's no real uploading. The first one is basic service conditions, facilities, how are they being maintained? A lot of that comes from our own internal procedure through the Williams case, Williams visits. The county comes out, visits schools, looking at facilities and textbooks and things like that. Now, they don't go in and start opening walls and, hey, let me look at here or there, but there's some basic things they're looking for in the facilities. We got implementation of academic standards. Obviously, that's tied into whether making sure all our curriculum is tied to state-approved standards. They're teaching to the standards, and part of courses are approved, A through G, all that stuff. Parent and family engagement. What are we doing to engage our parents? Surveys, participation. How are we reaching out to them? School climate. That's tied to actually the Healthy Kids Survey to get the school climate, and then access to broad courses of study. Once again, especially at the high school level, are we offering more than the basic A through G courses, like dual enrollment courses, pathways, and things like that? So as we move forward, so before the pandemic, before COVID-19, this is what the dashboard looked like. It's really like a gauge in your car. The needle moves as you speed up, slow down. And so this is what you used for about 4 years, I think, maybe 3-4 years, where red, the arrow pointing to the red was the lowest performance, and then you move through your colors, orange, yellow, green, to blue being the highest performance, meaning you're above the required standard for those different measurements we mentioned before. And then so 2019 was the last year of any data that went into the dashboard, the California dashboard, and used in this type of kind of measurement tool. And then obviously when the pandemic hit, a lot of the testing got postponed, no more testing were given. Obviously with kids out, absenteeism rate, and all that affected all the different measurements. So it wasn't until, let me go back. So I wanted everyone to get an idea of what our dashboard looked like in 2019. And as you see here, there's our state indicators, where you see at the top left, chronic absenteeism. You see, let me see, they said this a little, it works. Suspension rates, you see that. So chronic absenteeism, obviously, if we were always, that means we had our absentee rates were higher than what the state expected. And this would be starting with 5 or more absences. It's not just this kid was absent 1 year and things against you. It's really tied to kids who have 5 or more absences. And so the district at that time, needed to make a lot of progress in that. Suspension rates, how many kids were being suspended, at what rate. English learner progress, there was no performance color at that time. Graduation rates, we were in blue, which means our graduations were at the state expected level or higher. College and career, kind of in the middle. There was obviously areas for improvement and growth there. Academics, English language arts, kind of in the middle, not great, but obviously room for improvement to getting at least in green. And math, actually 1 color lower, orange, the middle one is yellow. So, but math, and I understand when I got here that was one of the areas the district was looking at and focusing on is improving in the area of math. And then we go into what we call the local indicators or measures. I mentioned about basic teachers, everyone teaching with the right credentials, instructional materials, facilities, and all the other ones that I mentioned before, standards were met. And then obviously the pandemic hit and everything got put on hold with assessments and everything. And then as we went on, there's a change in the measurement tool. We went from like a dashboard, car thing to our cell phone reception signal strength. So if you look at that down at the bottom, I'm going to try this one more time, Edwin.
Right here, talking about it. The point is.
Oh, I got a point here.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so we went from obviously these totals of measurement down to our cell phone signal strength. And you see it starts with very low at the bottom to the left, like your signal is very low, and you have a very high connection signal. So this is obviously very high, meaning for our indicators that your school or your school district is meeting or exceeding those expectations from the state. And so the difference that I need to note as well is if you look at the top part, that actually represented progress towards the goal. So if you weren't meeting the standard, you were also being measured on how much you're making progress towards that goal. And depending where you were, the state did have a criteria of how many points you needed to grow to be able to get into stay in the green or red. So it wasn't just did you meet it, but are you making that progress? So if you weren't, then obviously you'd be in like a yellow or orange and red. For today, for the current 2022 measure, it's just this is currently where you are now. There's no have you made progress? Are you not making progress? This is like a snapshot of now, and then moving forward each year, we'll start throwing it, or they'll start putting in matrices of how much you should be increasing. So for the Bassett Unified School District, the 2022 California dashboard, before I'm going to go into, I'm going to read it a little bit on the bottom because it splits for 2 particular standards. So obviously due to the pandemic, all of this changed. So now it's called a status for this year only. The performance levels will be reported using one of the 5 status levels. We talked about the very high and so on for state measures. But note that the status levels for associated with chronic absenteeism and suspension rate indicators are reversed. Yeah, so yeah, because like, oh wow, it's bad. So it's reversed for those 2, once again, for chronic absenteeism and suspension rate. So obviously if we look at our chronic absenteeism, very high means we have a very high absentee rate. It's not uncommon through any school district right now because so many kids continue to be out for COVID or COVID symptoms. But it's still something that we need to start working on and addressing and making sure we get kids here in school. We have suspension rate is low, which is a good thing. Obviously we want it higher. We want it extremely low. That's what that level is, or very low. English language learner progress is low, which is not good. We want it obviously higher than that. Graduation rates is high. And the next slides will actually go with specific numbers for everybody. No college and career indicators this year. English language arts, overall, all student populations, you see it's low, it's the second bar, as well as our math scores, overall low. And then on everything else, these local indicators, they're all a standard met. So I wanted to compare our district, Bassett Unified School District, and how we are compared to the state. So if you look at chronic absenteeism rate on the left, the very first one on the left, it's all students in the Bassett Unified School District. Obviously, it's very high. Our current absentee rate for 2022 was 31.1% chronically absent, which means over 30% of our students miss 5 or more days of the school year. And just for reference, if you're wondering, what do those numbers mean down at the bottom? Down there. So we have a total of 7 well, we can't say subgroups. 7 groups of student population that were being measured on. Compared to if you move to the right, the states, they have about 13. So that's what those numbers mean on the bottom. And so compared to the state, you see this, go back one, you see the state chronic absenteeism rate is 30. So we're just about 1%, just over 1% higher than the state. And so we go on to graduation rate. We're at 93.5% graduation rate. The state average is 87.4, so you see we're a lot higher than the state average on that. And if you say, well, how come there's only 5 there? And on the absenteeism rate, we had 7 groups of students. So remember, graduation rate is only high school, so maybe some of those groups we don't have in the high school. So those are for chronic absenteeism and graduation rate. I know that I will tell you that we have been working hard, especially recently, addressing the chronic absenteeism rate, as we're probably close to in that line right now this year. We want to re-encourage parents to bring kids to school every day. I think maybe it's getting a little too comfortable, you know, the sniffles, let's keep them home. I know we're trying to be safe, but there's that balance of getting him in school. There's no substitute for quality instruction in the classroom. Even though we do Saturday school, that does not help our absenteeism rate, our chronic absenteeism rate. It just helps us recoup ADA and obviously any instruction they're doing on that Saturday. So we want them here every day in school safely. Obviously, if they do have COVID or are really ill, stay at home, recuperate, but we're moving forward on really pushing towards encouraging bringing kids back to school more consistently. Moving on to the next 2 measures, suspension rates. Our suspension rate is low, really low, or just low, 1.2%. Suspended at least 1 day. And then if you look at the state average, 3.1, so we're doing very well in that area as well. They're at a medium. Moving over to English learner progress, you see that we're low. 43.4% of our English learners are making progress toward English language proficiency. Compared to the state, that's at 50.3, so it's about a 7% difference. Higher for the state, I will tell you that we missed the cutoff from being in medium by just over 1%. So if we had 44, a little over 44, we actually would have been in the medium, lower medium, but we would have been in the medium. Moving forward to mathematics, language arts. If you look at math on the left, we're at low, all our student population as a whole. 69.3% of our students are 69.3 points below standard of our students. And then if you compare to the state, 51.7, so that's 18 points higher in the kids that aren't meeting standard. You go over to language arts. Even though we're both low compared to the state, you see we're almost twice as high in our rates of students not at standard, or points below the standard. Let me move forward to, what are the next steps? Well, let me go back. So, sorry, before I go into that. So when you click on view more details, what happens is on the dashboard is that actually it'll take you to that specific area, and then it'll break down your different groups of children, of student populations, and they'll tell you if they're, if they're very low, low, medium, high, very low. So as a district and as a site principal, you use this data to determine, okay, I need to focus, I need to have a larger focus on maybe my English learners because they're the ones that are very low, or my special education students. And so you use this data to determine your focus groups as far as developing a plan of action. And that just goes across the board for all the different areas they're measuring. So what we're going to do, the next steps, obviously we want to continue to work with our site principals reviewing this data, as well as the other data of assessments are used district-wide. Really, we talked a little bit about attendance. We're really pushing out positive attendance incentives for kids to come to school. The academics, specifically language arts and math, working with the school sites, they all have intervention teacher specialists, working out with kids in the classroom, pulling out, working with them, make sure we're focused on that. Even though our suspension rates are good as far as they're low, we want to continue to monitor that. It's kind of easy to slip if you're not monitoring things, and so we want to stay focused that we're not over suspending kids, especially as they've come back from the pandemic and being at home so long. The readjustment of being back in school, following a routine, following structure. It was challenging for some of our students, especially last year. And then obviously our English language learner population and the progress that they need to make in being redesignated and moving up in their different levels. Obviously, site administrators working with their site staff on those focus areas. And then the other part that's key is us focusing on our LCAP goals and actions and how we prioritize expenditures that focus on these needs based on the dashboard. And that's all I have at this point for this presentation. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer it. If not, Dr. Kennard is going to help me out. There are some cut points that I didn't put on here. So if you're interested to know, well, what is the standard? I'll go back a slide. Oh, sorry, can you play it again? So when you look at these numbers where it says 69.3 below standard 51, we actually have the cut points of what's considered at standard that we could share with all of you. What's the expected number with all the different areas: suspension rate, English learner progress, chronic absenteeism, all that stuff we will share with you.
I like this. What are we planning for? First of all, suspension. What is an effect for, we'll call it suspension?
Well, there's various things you can suspend a child for. Obviously, we have what we call the more severe ones, are the 5, 0 tolerance, but then also at the same time, you take a look, take into consideration the details of it. There's defiance, but that's one of the things that you can't anymore. Before, you could just suspend for defiance. That one's kind of gone away because it was, at least in the state's eye and based on data, it was overly used. And there's a difference between suspending from school and suspending from the classroom. Suspend a child from the classroom and it not be suspending from school and not affect the dashboard. Where are the other, Dr. Kennard, if you can help me out?
Sure. I remember, and then you all can help us out. There's a, right? There's selling and causing physical body.
Is it all within 48,900?
48,915.
Right, but is it all within that?
So that's an ed code, 48,915
is the 5, that you have to put up for expulsion. 48,900 are the suspensionable ones.
So what are we doing with the suspension? I never believed in suspensions because they just stay home and play the computer all day, but.
So some of the stuff, and Dr. Kennard, maybe Moff, you want to help out as well? So one of the alternatives we've talked about suspension, obviously, is, you know, there's things, especially at the elementary level, and then high school may be different. You do, whether it be detention, detention. Sometimes we've been talking a little bit about restorative practices where the students actually have to do research on kind of what they did, the impact to the, you know, potential victims, if it was like a fight or a threat, and kind of have to do research on that and write a reflective paper on, you know, now I understand why I did this research, this is what I found, this is why it was wrong. I'll let the principals kind of talk about some of the other stuff they do as an alternative to suspension.
Do you have the behavior metrics in place for every site, and does it differ?
So what we normally use, what we always use is at all the schools, it's the ed code, 48,900, those are suspendable offenses. How many days, it depends on what happened. For the most part, specifically at the high school, we're not suspending, unless it's something major. We are using a lot of restorative justice, for everything. We want to make sure that we're including the parent in every solution or everything that happens. Parents always, the students sitting there, the parents on the phone, coming, you know, Jim did this, can you please come, let's work it out. So our suspension, that's why our suspensions are so low. The only time we really suspend is when it's something that is, aggressive, a fight, and even a fight, it has to be, not a pushing fight or a verbal fight, it's gotta be, combative. So we're really taking all that into consideration. Anything else, we put in place, tier systems at our schools. So our tier one is usually our teachers and everybody on campus. What are we doing to redirect? What are we doing to prevent? How are we being visible? Where is our security? Where are our teachers? So we're doing all those measures, everybody, all hands on board, all hands on deck. Once it gets past that, then it goes to a tier two where you've been given a warning, you've been given 2 warnings or 3 warnings, then it goes into a tier 2 or a higher level, consequence. At that point, those students are sent to the office. I'm just gonna say the office. And then at that point, we include the parent, we include the counselor and the student. Now we gotta figure out, you've already had 2 or 3 warnings about the same thing. Now we really gotta figure out what's going on. So that's when we do a meeting with those stakeholders. If it gets past that, then it goes to tier 3, then we're looking at a suspension. Then we're looking at, okay, we've tried these interventions, at the entire school. We've done these isolated interventions, now we gotta look at something else. Doesn't necessarily have to be a suspension, but it could be.
And so this behavior matrix is, put out there for the students and their families to understand?
Yes, everybody knows about it.
Okay, so can we get a copy of that? I'd be interested. Okay.
Sure.
Each of the school types a few years back had they did their own matrix. We can definitely share that
Can you define PBIS?
with their behavior.
Well, we do know that.
We still have it,
Go out.
we do, but I will say that it was a few years ago, and so we, 2 of our schools coming out for updated training, and so we'll be going through the whole process. I know the high school's doing that, Torch is doing that, Edgewood, is also.
And any egregious offenses would certainly restorative practices and those things.
Ed goes,
Ed
one of
goes.
those 5, they go straight.
It goes to prevent for most of those. But PBIS, so I do wanna echo what Dr. Kennard said. I've been there, this is my 4th year, and there was a lot of components of PBIS already within the school. The posters, school-wide posters, the teachers knew it. We had, the documentation like reflection logs or redirecting logs. We had all of it, and we've been using it, but we hadn't formalized it into the PBIS program itself. But now with the support of Dr. Kennard and the superintendent and you guys, we're bringing that back to specifically those 3 sites. We're working directly with LACO to form our PBIS teams at the site and really incorporate and make everything solidified again so that we can all start saying again that we are implementing the PBIS programs as it's supposed to be. And we've started that.
What site were those?
Sorry?
What site were they?
Site?
Like,
the high school, Bassett High School, Torch, and Edgewood.
all that information with, qualified for, the restorative justice, all that mentioned in the student handbook, that?
So,
Yes, it's in the student handbook, the 48900 code. You see the sheet, it's 48900, then there's a letter A, B, C, all the way down. And then we get to 48915, which are, those offenses that are, recommended for expulsion. And then there's another code that is automatic suspension on severe. So yeah, we have to look, very closely because K was the letter that everyone used before. It was just disruption of activities. Because a student was throwing pencils, we no longer use that. We use other means of correction within the school side and the campus, and we're no longer doing that. So we have to have specific behaviors that fall under ed code in order to suspend. So that's why suspensions are way down. We're not doing just disruption of school activities.
So going back to your question, restorative practices are right now are site-based. I know for the high school, we used a lot of restorative justice practices, especially, specifically when Mr. Arianes was there helping me. Anybody who came and we caught tagging, for example, We got the parent on the phone, parent was aware of what happened, and I would say, or he would say, okay, now Hector's gonna stay after school to help the custodians clean the walls, or Hector's gonna, I would catch kids doing something at lunch, we would catch throwing things at lunch, parent on the phone, okay, Jim's throwing, food at lunch, tomorrow and for the next day, he is gonna help us clean after. So we did a lot of that stuff, so parents were more than happy to say, yes, please keep them. Can you keep them an extra day?
Yeah,
Please,
absolutely.
all the parents that we contacted, always, that was a common thing. Can you please keep them for another day for me? Sure, no problem. So we use that, but we use it also with a reflective log, sheet. What happened? Why did you do it? All right? This is a consequence. What did you learn from it? And we would keep those logs.
And what would you do? The students actually improving their behavior?
Absolutely, absolutely. I would say, I'm gonna knock on wood right now. I would say at the high school, we've had handful of suspensions, maybe 3 at the most for the semester. That's incredible. And it's because of the systems that we put in place and everything that we talked about.
And to be fair, you have really good kids.
Yes,
If this was in
absolutely,
the seventies, you wouldn't see that.
absolutely,
But if this was in the eighties, maybe even in the nineties, you're really good kids.
absolutely. We love our kids.
You know, for the most part, 99.9.5,
Well
those
behaved,
kids are great
respectful.
kids.
Very,
They are.
very,
They're kind,
They're
and
wonderful.
they're decent kids.
yeah, they're wonderful kids. We love our kids.
So with the few that you have issues with, you're dealing with them with your matrix and everything.
Yes.
And I think it's kind of important to note that because of the pandemic and all the issues that happened, sending kids home, being at home, and a lot of these structures that were in place, not just here, but throughout, school districts, they got forgotten. And as you came back your first year, you were just trying to, keep your 6 feet, sanitizing, oh, you sneezed, you got COVID. So all these things that kept everyone from really just focusing on coming back to, these procedures that we had with all our PBIS, our interventions, our tier systems of support and all that. So that's one of the things we've been talking about, bringing back training for these programs and services for kids we put into place, and interventions, retraining everyone so we can get back to them.
Identifying children in counseling, parenting
Absolutely.
is
Yeah.
invaluable.
Yeah.
And I think that Bassett has so many programs already in place at the high school that you can support our kids. And
Yeah.
probably more out there than needed,
We're,
but
we're,
we're getting
we're,
there.
yeah, we're blessed, and going back to Mr. Simental and the restorative justice, we're blessed to have all the resources that the district has given us, and specifically at the high school I'm talking about, that we have so many avenues for our students who do, get in trouble for whatever reason, that we can refer them to community schools, we can refer them to Margaret's Place, we can refer them to the Wellbeing Center, we can refer them to counseling, academic counseling. So we are blessed to have all those resources because of you guys. Thank you.
Do you still have Pacific clinics on
We
campus?
still have Pacific clinics on campus,
Both on Nueva and?
both at Nueva and at the high school. So again, all this is because of you guys, your vision, your support, that we can continue to do this.
Any other questions?
I do want the math and the language arts. What are the plans to improve, help our kids improve? What, do we have plans in place?
Dr. Kennard?
So, yes, thank you for that question. We have been working through the LTAP, through the Title I. Math intervention teacher. So the goal there is that our students are having an opportunity for the preview. They will have the regular math option, another, time of the day. Additional teacher.
And don't forget the intervention teachers we've added at the K5 and K8.
So we have a TOSA teachers that are assigned to elementary and to, their responsibility is to work as students, to run reports, every I-ready, and then disaggregate all of our groups, so they can target. We also run the reports on our benchmark. So we have a pretty detailed, our host is to run the, share them with the teacher, share them with the principal, obviously, just plan those interventions.
And the interventions at the high school with the teachers, is that instead of an elective, or is it before or after school?
So again, thank you, Dr. Kennard, for her support and Dr. Alvarez. So it's been a gradual, intervention plan. Working with Mr. Barberena, our department chair, who's wonderful, and Dr. Kennard's, help, and we've all collaborated since I got here, and that was math has always been the one. So we started, I started saying to the math department, all right, you guys are the experts. You guys are seeing these students year in and year out. What do we need to do to make sure that we're preventing or helping or putting interventions in place? How do we change the system? Because this is a systematic thing. Every year, systematic. So the first thing that we did, again, with the help of Ed Services, was we actually hired an intervention teacher to help. We looked at the data, and we looked at integrated one, which are our ninth graders. Okay, those were the group that was the group that was struggling the most. So what we realized at that point was, if we don't put more effort into this group, they're gonna not get it, ninth grade. Guess what? They're not gonna get it 10th, 11th, so forth, right? So what we did for the integrated one, ninth grade, we added another teacher who was working specifically based on data from their 8th grade to pull those students and give them another class to help them. We know that you're struggling. We're gonna give you integrated one because we don't want you to fall behind on the standards, but then we're gonna give you some help. So that was the first step. We did that for a couple of years. The next step that we took was added another intervention teacher, which happened to be a teacher from Torch, who knew the students specifically from Torch coming in, and we called her a foundations teacher. So she took that even the lowest of the low. So we had an intervention class, so we took that intervention class and we took the lower kids out of that and created this class. So her classes were between 10 and 15 students. But it was really, really spoon-feeding those kids the intervention that they needed. So that was the second one. The third one, we looked again at data, looking at data. We said, we're already helping as much as we can with integrated one. Now we're looking at integrated two. How are we gonna help those students that maybe we missed, maybe they're still not getting it? So what we did is we took this semester, we took our integrated two classes and broke them into half. So if the teacher before had 30 students or 31 students, now they only have 13 to 15 at the most. So then that extra and third intervention teacher now is teaching integrated two. Now we have two integrated two teachers, but with half the class. And that we're hoping that with the interventions at integrated one and then now interventions at integrated two, we will start seeing the fruits of those interventions. All data-driven, all in collaboration with the middle schools.
Okay.
Knowing that all learning is language-based, and knowing that now the CAS test is primarily language-based in the area of math, you need to remember to show yourself some grace in that, because you're not just teaching math, foundational skills, you're teaching language and how to decipher the language. The questions on math, for those of you that don't give the test, are extremely convoluted. You have to figure out what they're asking and then perform the mathematical process, because sometimes you might not even figure out what they're asking, and it's multi-tiered, and these are ELD children that are just not coming to language, and there are other children that have language challenges, and it's incredibly difficult. So please remember to show yourself some grace in this, because it's not the same test. And going back to what Dr. Alvarez was sharing with the dashboard, we have so many assessment tools changing all the time. You know, we're API, we're AYP, we're this, we're that, and all the tools have changed. 5th grade math testing, state changed last year, and what are we going to look forward to? And you know, so you can't compare apples to oranges, but more importantly, children have to learn their language first before they can even address the math.
Go ahead.
One of the things that I wanted to point out is that as our students are assessed in their junior year, but it's a combination. Math 3 is two combined. So we were missing, our students were not mastering one. They were in sophomore year taking. Again, maybe in their junior. Some of the students were led to some of the. So we're addressing that, and I do want to say that the to help it's just like
So, I have two areas. I also, concur with Sarah on the math. It is low, okay? And I remember prior to becoming a board member, pre-COVID, there was a presentation made by the high school. And some of the teachers came and all this great plans we had for math that was going to happen. And yet our math, they're still below state average. So this is concerning to me. And I can appreciate all the steps we're trying to take forward. One of the things at the time I had said is, if Dina isn't cutting 8th grade math, how can Dina transition to integrated math in 9th grade? Are there assessments done at the 8th grade? And I apologize if I missed it. Are there assessments done at the 8th grade level before they come into high school? So much so that, okay, Dina, you're not going to be able to step into integrated math because you have this thing to take care of. Now, I've heard that we cannot require summer school. But summer school is an option where you can get that extra help that you need, or as we're doing with Saturday school. But, and since supposedly we can't require it, but make sure that the parent is aware, have them sign off on something saying, hey, Dina isn't cutting it, she's gonna suffer in 9th grade. You're setting her up to fail if she's not ready. Now, if that's basically somebody that doesn't catch on right away, are you able to transition, as Mr. Vasquez said? If you can't master the concepts of this math, how do you move into the next level? And so I guess it's not so much like testing, but more of an assessment. Where are you? Hitting the benchmarks. I would be curious, and I don't know if the dashboard will give you that. I'd be curious to see this by campuses.
It will.
So I wanted to see by campuses and see where are we, what can we do? So it's great that we have next steps in place, but I think we need to do more than, because it's, like I said, before becoming a board member, I saw this great presentation and I'm like, okay, we're gonna do good. And now we've fallen even lower in the standards. And language arts, yes, I do see that. This is before pandemic.
Yeah.
So now we're above work.
Yeah.
I get it, I do get all that. My next one is, I'm really big, okay, so I can applaud the graduation rates. I think they're very good, but Dr. Kennard, you know me. Are you ready, college career ready? So what ends up happening is, if we're gonna become a diploma mill, just give you a diploma, here you go, vaya con Dios, but then they come to their first year of college, and they're shocked, because like, whoa, what is this, And now, working in higher ed, you don't get credit for remedial courses. You have to take them, you have to pay for them, but you don't get credit. Now, I believe that 4th year math did not pass. So, what happens? So what ends up happening is the student may have done really great. They come to their first year of college and I can't hang with this. So they end up dropping out, and then what? And as we've noticed, if you follow the trends, you know, less and less kids are, registration is dropping in the universities, because why? Because you have businesses that are taking kids here. I'll take you, I'll train you, I'll show you my way. What happens when you're no longer with that company? What skills besides what that company has shown you? You don't have anything. So to me, college career ready is very important, and it should be right up there. If we're graduating our kids should be able to step in to college or step into a career and be ready for that. I'd really like to see that come back, the indicator. college-
And just to be clear, the reason why the state's not tracking it this year, next year it'll be brought back, it's being measured. For this year, the state did not incorporate that into measuring remember, this is all last year's data. So when we're here this time next year, talking about this data, we will see, well, besides that, higher scores, we will see college and career, we will see a college and career, indicator score, on there.
Which incorporates both the status and the growth. So that will come back, and that will be the college and career indicator. I want to say, yes, much of that presentation, that was all, we were ready to go and go, and by COVID. So that really put us back. I will say that we have been back now and we do have, very specific assessments on the way. So like we have our benchmark. All along, we're having those data. We're not waiting until the end of the year to see. We're measuring, calendars created. We know how the students are doing. We're intervening. We've added in place, not wait until the end of the year. Where are we failing? We've added the additional personnel. I really do feel that we're. But I do feel strongly about the conversations that are happening to data analysis at the sites with the teachers. Those reports. Regularly.
And again, I don't want to discount, I love that our graduation rate is so high, but we need to think beyond the high school. These are our leaders of tomorrow, and we need to make sure that they have the tools that they need to be successful, because nobody takes care of us.
Yeah, I do get the students coming, that why did they test so much already? And now that they're getting awards because they met or exceeded the standards, they're all excited about, doing the test, because now they're gonna see how much they grew, how much they know now from when they started to the middle to the end. So they're all jazzed. I mean, they just had awards and, look, I exceeded it. Or I met the standards, and they come out excited with those. And it's just a paper. It's a paper like this with an award that says if you met or exceeded the standards.
It really does speak to their hiring them.
It motivates them, and then they challenge each other. That's what they're doing, so, thank you, I'm glad. You guys are doing a great job. Thank you, our students, so, thank you.
So Dr. Alvarez, you said that this was the status level, so this is considered.
Correct, so this is our baseline. This is where we're starting. And then when we talk about this next year, depending on what the state has identified of the expected growth based on where you are, we'll see where we land up on this cell phone bar signal.
Like you said, we had good and smart kids. We'll move on. We'll move on.
I do have a kind of a concern. So, I know that the CAS scores are used part of the indicator for language arts and mathematics. And, I was taking a peek at, the CAT scores for the last couple of years, a few days ago, and I looked at them earlier again. And, I did notice that unfortunately, the high school, when it comes to ELA, y'all are, in a downward trend, like the last couple of years, like 10 points down. When it comes to math, there were some jumps. 29% of the kids meeting or exceeding standards. We're back to 22%. Went down again, and these numbers, in last year, so it is kind of post-COVID as well to an extent. So it is concerning to see downward trends. I get it that we are coming out of this whole COVID thing, but at the same time, last year testing looked pretty good when it came to math. This year, it looks a little rougher. Kind of same thing goes to the district to an extent. The consistency hasn't been too strong to an extent, and I'll be open and transparent about this. One of the goals that I've had for the past couple of years is seeing academic growth in the district. And I don't mean comparing us strictly just to the state average, but I would like to see growth within the kiddos, percentage-wise. So we're at 29%, going up to 32%. Say the state average is 40%. Well, that's not what I'm looking at. I'm seeing growth within us, and one day, God willing, if it goes well, we'll surpass this thing. Making sure that we have that system in place that allows our kiddos to continue growing one day at a time, type of thing. So that to me is a little concerning. I'll keep a finger on it. I'll bring it up probably again in the future. Well, not probably. If we improve, I'll congratulate. If we don't, I will share, like, hey, what's going on here again? Because, well, Dr. Alvarez, we're here today. Because that's one of my greatest concerns. Call it narrowing the achievement gap or equity gap. A lot of terminology, but at the end of the day, sure our kiddos are performing at a good level when it comes to their academics.
And I appreciate that, Mr. Ross, because in putting this presentation together, what I also did, it's not included here though, is I also started just kind of doing some random samples of school districts near us and kind of where they were in some of these areas. And I'll be honest, not all, just because I didn't look at that many, maybe half a dozen, but a lot of them were higher than us. In some areas, significantly, other just about there. I think in one district I looked at, we were actually better. But overall, the demographics of the school districts I looked at were no different than ours, and in some cases probably a little more challenging demographic-wise, and yet their progresses were higher. And so as far as our part, we need to raise our level of expectations of our students. We can't use the demographics or backgrounds or personal life as an excuse of why they're not making it. We always have to do our due diligence and push our students to that level where we're expecting them, and then ask ourselves, what do I need to do for them to support them to get there? Just matter, this is where you need to be, here you go, get there. It's more of, as you're moving towards there, what are you doing to support them to meet that expectation?
And I would also like to say, raise our level. Students will rise to the level of expectation. If you work with them, if you give them the tools, they will rise. They have to, and one of the things is our absenteeism. Not in school, you're not learning, So how can we make it so students want to come to school? There's other areas, there's outside things that affect that, and you can attack them one at a time, but the thing is, got to make the school a place where kids want to come to. I want to learn. I want to challenge them, work with them, and see what they can do. And I think we will get there. But yes, I do appreciate all the work that you're all putting into this. This is great. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. I'm very confident we'll get there.
Just one last. Just to give my appreciation. I myself, obviously, I'm new. This is my second regular meeting, so it is a good baseline to see, but definitely looking at and seeing how. I agree with my colleagues on graduation, that whole dynamic of the tech thing, graduated, but once you're out of college, you're at community college at UC, Cal State, National Honor Society when you're at Bassett, and then, that's something, well, specifically with attendance too, I'm really interested in articulating and establishing goals and just even in reviewing the report card. You know, I'm definitely interested here, goals and embrace into the report card, but we're gonna, you know, taking it all in, so I'm looking forward to continuing this.
Any further comments? Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Alvarez, for your presentation.
And I'll email it to all of you so you have it, and then the link to the state website where you can kind of play with it a little more.
And thank you to all our people. Moving right along to written communications, we do have a written communications from LECA, with regards to our interim budget. Hope you all have an opportunity to read it. Okay. Moving on to public comments. We will skip public comments as we already did that prior to. Move over to superintendent comments. Dr. Alvarez?
Board President, members of the board. I just wanted to welcome everyone back. I know we're almost done with January, but welcome back to the 2023 year, second half of the school year. It's going to go quickly, so just be prepared. Make sure you're on top of everything. Down here at the district office or our extended cabinet, we're actually already starting talking about next school year and starting to plan for summer school, our own starting next school year, the areas of focus that we're going to be working on, and supporting school sites, supporting students. All those conversations are going on up here with our team as we meet every other week and set these expectations for next school year. So just want to welcome everyone back. Be safe. Board President, I appreciate your comments on the moment of silence for the tragedy this weekend in Monterey Park, and then the other day up at Half Moon Bay. It really is a tragedy when we have all these nonsense of shootings and people's lives being taken for no real reason other than someone's internal demons or hate, whatever is stemming within their own minds. And so I just ask everyone to be vigilant, be safe, always be aware of your surroundings. And that's it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Dr. Alvarez. Moving along to board member comments. We will start with Mr. Barajas.
Thank you, Board President. Well, Happy New Year's to everyone. I know it's a whole month in practically, but Happy New Year's. But on that note as well, you know, it is sad that we see tragic events happen in our neighboring community. So it's just that. It also is a time for us to remember the importance of the social emotional well-being of all our kiddos. We don't know what they're going through. We don't know what their parents are going through. And I know I'll be the one that says that I guess I'm all about the academics. I know I am. But as we say in all our administrative credential programs or doctoral programs, right? What do we say? It's math go before bloom, right? So making sure we take good care of the social and emotional well-being before we take care of the academics. That being said, you know, it is a new year, not school year, of course. New year gives us an opportunity to kind of reinvent ourselves to an extent and help us understand where is it that we're trying to drive when it comes to our schools. And I just want to remind you all here, stay mission and vision driven. Make sure you continue tackling those goals because although I'm not an administrator, I do understand that the daily endless tasks that happen as an administrator sometimes do take us away from our real mission, our real vision, our real goals, which is, of course, to provide a high-quality education to our kiddos, make sure they become great community leaders. So I do commend you all for everything y'all do. I'll still be keeping my finger on y'all, making sure that I bring up comments every now and then, because this is my community. They're the kids that I see, and I want to make sure that was that we have right now. But I do thank y'all. Thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for your insight. Thank you for all y'all do. So, here's to everyone.
Ms. Santioni?
Good evening, Bassett. As we begin the calendar year of 2020, the new year of the rabbit, we have to be deeply moved by the events of Monterey Park, Half Moon Bay, and in Des Moines. All Central City. And again, to use your word, which I probably wrote, external vigilance and early intervention, and immediate intervention as our own. On a happier note, back to something that was this last holiday season, we are forever grateful to our donor Steve Pedrosa for 150, Hilda Solis for 110, Dot for games and gift cards, and a CHP for toys and bikes with his special. And I wanted to say, be safe in your new position, or to having your colleague, Officer, I think it's Soleil, replace you as our kind of liaison. I had the joy of working with Officer, bringing him on campus. He was a true gift for. I know there are families of Bassett are grateful, and again, on this note, I would like to suggest and request that we consider celebrating and thanking students, staff, and community at a monthly Celebrate Bassett gathering. No agenda, no business, just fun and celebrating our students. In past years, we recognize students at our regular board meetings, but rather than make them sit through or wait for us to return from closed session and through business, I request that we hold monthly Celebrate Bassett gatherings. Totally informal and fun. First of all, I'd like to invite our donors, from whom we have had the appropriate paperwork, to come and be properly thanked with a certificate. While it is only paper, it is a symbol of our gratitude. And it is the month to start fresh, with January 1st, and all of our resolutions, Lunar New Year heralding the new spring, and new growth and new chances, Dr. Martin Luther King Day, when we attempt to look at individuals' character rather than their color, and at International Holocaust Remembrance Day as a reminder that we have to learn from history and repeat it. We as adults here at Bassett, as educators, as parents, as family, we must model kindness, free from hate. Bullying and name calling don't even have a place on a child's playground. So be kind, people. It's free and it's simple. Good night. Be safe.
Ms. Sanzioni, Mr. Simonpal.
President. Community. I also want to acknowledge the tragedy. All of our thoughts are I also want to commend the Valley community for the good events for everyone. I also want to thank, although she's not here, Ms. Mendoza, the AV Vice President, for the updates. I really do appreciate not only getting to hear the updates from the school, but personally, it is really nice to see. I'm also really happy to see members of the team and principals. I know it was nice to meet you last month. That actually was a nice mention. Very briefly, so nice to see you. Also working with you for the rest of my term here. But again, as I said during the dashboard presentation, I appreciate the ask for it. Just look forward to learning more in this role and have a lot to learn. Essentially, with everyone, as I have the time to actually what their
Thank you, Mr. Simonpal. Ms. Rivera.
Yeah, welcome to all the new personnel, new principals that are here. Welcome you to the Bassett family. Hope you stay here for a while, a long while. And yeah, my condolences and sympathy goes out to the families in Des Moines and Monterey Park and Half Moon Bay. It's just so sad, and it makes me wonder if we have a plan in place, a safety, what are we doing? Have we, I don't want to scare the children either, but we need to let them be alert, to also be alert, the adults when we're dropping them off, because us even are not safe. You know, we park across the street from the schools and tell the kids, run, 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 you know, instead of walking them, you know, we're putting them in danger ourselves. But I would like to see a plan or see what where we're at with that, because it is getting closer to home. It was further out in other states, and now it's in California. And you get these copycats that will continue doing and going on. And I would rather cover the well now than after the child has fallen in. So if we could work on something like that, you know, even with parents, get parents involved, get the community involved to do something, come up with something, that would be great. I know we have a plan for earthquakes, and I know we do have a security plan, but we do need to be more aware. Everybody needs to be more aware, because it is close to home now. So if we could do that, I also would like to have an event where we just celebrate our children, our students, our teachers, our staff, classified, everybody, you know, just a day where we give out the certificates and thank them and show how we appreciate their work that they've done, our students, and the hard work that our students are doing. Even parents, we're bringing their kids to school daily and on time. If we've done that before, when I used to work here, that we used to celebrate not just the student, but the parent, the little gift card or something, that gave them the incentive to keep on bringing the kids, because the other parent was, oh, look, teacher, you know, we're human, and if we see the challenge, we're gonna do it. It's like TikTok, you know, challenge them and they will do it. So we could challenge parents to come, we should do a TikTok, challenging parents to bring them to school, and we'll get them here. And that's what we need to do, celebrate everyone, not just the children, the students, everybody, classify you, Mr. Dr. Alvarez, your secretary has been doing a wonderful job, Alejandra, our technology is working, our new, CBO, HR, Kamiko has been doing a great job in dealing with a lot of, Dr. Kennard, dealing with parents and.
A lot of kissing, yeah.
And you're the principals, you put up with the parents and you put up with all our complaints. But we never go up to you and say, you're doing a great job. But we never thank you. You know, so I, as a parent, am thanking you all for taking care of our kids. And also to the new, student service, I'm looking forward to see what we're gonna work out and bring a plan. It's something that would work instead of Saturday school, maybe. And it's not just for the ADA, but to help the kids, you know, because they miss that, you know, when they are out, they do miss. And so we need instruction time, so we need to catch them up. And it's not like it was before, when if my kids missed, I would help them. Now I can't, I would have to go back to college again to learn all this new math and all this new stuff, you know. My kids used to have a model that they learn at home and go show off at school. Now I can't do that because I don't know what you're doing. I don't know this modern math, this new thing that they're teaching and how they're doing it. You come up with the same answer, but it's not the same thing. But you don't do it the same way, so. But, yeah, if we could do set up a date and a community day and just make it a festival, a festive, thing here at Baston, and start marketing ourselves as a unique district, you know, small, unique district, personal service. And we'll start getting our students coming back, our parents. Because parents do care about the academics, but they also care about how you treat their students and treat them. You treat them good and they will come. So, thank you, everybody. Happy New Year again, lunar and, the regular one. So, and welcome to everybody, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Ms. Rivera. I'm gonna do the dinner. Yes, first and foremost, I'd like to say my thoughts and prayers go out to the family, the victims and their families of the tragic incident at Monterey Park, Half Moon Bay. These are senseless, you know, acts of violence that are just not necessary. So when it is being said, I'm not really sure if, that we could do is, the district having workshops so that we can educate, you know, our staff to look for signs, things that, you know, could, you know, understand what are the signs, and to like, cover the well before it happens, they say. So again, like I said, I'm happy to see all our principals here. This is great. Thank you so much for attending this. On that note, in December, I was not able to attend all of the programs like I did the year before, but I did attend Don Julian's, holiday, gathering. It was amazing. And honestly, you sit there and you hear the kids singing, and you remember, this is why I'm here. This is why I sit at this desk, to make it better for them, to help build a safe environment for them. The dedication for Miss Marilyn Ramirez is beautiful. I did not have the pleasure of meeting her, but I was just so touched by all the love and everything. You just had to feel, you felt it, right, when you were there. Thank you so much, Ms. Paredes, for putting that together. With that said, also, along the lines of the, when we come across things, we hear, you know, we look at other districts, so this is how other districts are. Me personally, I want Bassett. I care about Bassett. There's a lot happening on much national level, county level. I care about Bassett because we can't, how do you say this? You need to set yourself goals to what you are. I need to be better tomorrow than I was today. And each day, as the saying says, make each day your masterpiece. And that is something that we can do when I say we challenge our students, make it an environment that they want to come to, that they want to be a part of, and what is it? Train up a child in the way they should grow, and when they grow up, they will not depart from it. Basic things that we teach them, and I'd like us to continue that. And let's look at Bassett. Let's focus on Bassett, because each of our kids is unique. They're individuals. They're not compare them to over here, over there type of thing. They're Bassett. They're students. And let's look at our community, take care of our community, and move from there. Student safety still remains a priority, and as I said, does the district offer workshops so we can, you know, catch these things before they happen? My well-being is involved. Thank you to the community that does share concerns. I really do appreciate. We as board members are here to support. We've been put in this chair by the community. We're here to serve the students, the community. So thank you to the community that does share their concerns. From the time I sat in this chair, I've been saying, let's work together. Let's work together. Now, work together means we communicate. I'm hoping we're getting to that point where you don't have to wait till the board meeting to take that mic. You know, get your answers before. And that's what, as a board member, I try to do. Have you done this? Have you, you know, taken your steps? We have a chain of command. Let's respect the chain of command and follow it. We cannot fix what we don't know is broken. And I know many times we get the complaint from a community member and they're angry, they're upset. You know, acknowledge their concerns, talk to them, sit down, address them before it festers. Because if it festers, by the time it gets there, it's ugly, okay? And we don't want that. We want to create a positive environment. We want to hear them, but also let's sit down and talk about it. How can we make it better? What do you see as making it better? I'd like to, when I say I don't, my goal, my hope for Bassett is we can become the model district that our neighboring districts envy. Wow, Bassett's doing that. Oh, you know, our size, we are small, but that small size that we have is what can make us so strong. So again, I ask, please let's work together through communication, collaboration. Hey, you know, this principal's got a great idea. Let's jump on that. You know, how, you know, it's working. We don't have to reinvent wheels at times. At times we have some amazing ideas that come through our campuses. Let's all, you know, work on that and build on that. And again, like I said, my goal is to make Bassett the model district that everybody envies, and I know we can do that. I know we can do that. It's gonna take some work, it's not gonna happen overnight, but if we have that positive mindset, I really think that we can get there. With that said, Happy New Year to everybody, Happy Lunar Year. It is the year of the rabbit, and I am Rabbit. So, I'm excited. Supposed to be like a year, let me see, I bought my mega, but it's after 8, so I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, thank you so much, and good night, Gossip. So, that was the final board comment. So we have some things for discussion and action. First one here. I don't know, are we ready? Are we ready for this one? Shall we talk about it?
So I need a box up my office.
Oh, wait, did we bring the Okay. So first we have the approval of the superintendent employment contract for the period December 15th, 2021 through June 30th, 2025. Approval is recommended to include revised compensation for the fiscal year 22-23, maintain existing fringe benefits, incorporate prior amendments, and redefine the work year and vacation earnings and accruals beginning July 1st, 2023.
I move for the approval of superintendent employment contract for period of December 15, 2021.
Wait,
Yes, ma'am.
I said all the motion. Okay.
Okay.
So we have a motion by Mr. Barajas and a second by Ms. Rivera. Can I get a roll call?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Was that to discuss or to approve?
To approve.
Approve.
Can you backtrack and then read
That's
that?
what I said, let's do this, and you said, go ahead.
No.
I said to approve.
No, there was a motion, a second. She needs to read something out before you do the roll call vote.
Oh.
Yes,
Yeah,
Oh.
sorry.
Okay.
I got this, okay? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so, the approval of the superintendent's employment contract has been properly moved and seconded. The approval is recommended that the employment agreement for the superintendent's employment through June 30th, 2025 includes the following salary and fringe benefit terms. The annual salary base for the period of July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023 shall be $227,900. As I'm reading that, it's actually written out. For a total of 225 work days per year and a one-time off-schedule salary payment of $17,200. Superintendent will follow a positive work year and stop accruing vacation beginning July 1, 2023. Following terms will remain the same. Health and welfare benefits, dental health vision, in the same manner and subject to the same limitations as other district management employees. An annual employer contribution to one or more tax-deferred accounts of the superintendent's choice. This contribution shall be in the total amount of $12,000 a year, 500 car allowance. I now open this item for the board's discussion and consideration. Do you have any discussion, questions? Okay, so now can I have a roll call vote?
Aye.
Aye. Motion switch over? Okay, so notice of public hearing. Public hearing of the California School Employees Association, CSCA, Chapter 26, Sunshine Proposal for the 22-23 reopener negotiations with Bassett Unified School District. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education hold an open public hearing of CSCA Sunshine Proposal for the 22-23 negotiations with Bassett Unified School District. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing of the Bassett Unified School District Sunshine Proposal for 22-23 reopener negotiations with California School Employees Association, Chapter 26? Motion by Mr. Cimental and seconded by Ms. Sanzioni. And the roll call vote?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. It opens at 8:46. This time you may make any comments that you would like to do. Sure? No comments? No questions? So we close the,
Motion to close it.
motion to close the public hearing at 8:46.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rivera, seconded by Mr. Simental. For, roll call?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you so much. Moving right,
8:46.
okay, we're, moving along to approval of resolutions. Resolution 24-23, Career and Technical Month. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve Resolution 24-23, declaring February as Career and Technical Education. Public hearing.
That was, no, you did this one.
Oh, so I voted now.
Oh, so let's go back to number one. Oh, no, wait a minute. Go
It's the
back.
same thing. This is CSBA.
Yeah, so this is, which one did you read? This one? Then you gotta read one. So one of them is water openers. So if you read the other one, then read that one.
Okay. I missed one. So we go back. Can I get a motion to open a public hearing of the California School Employees Association, Chapter 26, Sunshine Proposal 2223, reopener negotiations with Facet Unified School District? I heard Mr. Rivera, and then I heard Mr. Simonson. Being at 8:48, I'm sorry, roll call vote?
Aye.
We're opening public hearing at 8:48. No comments? Okay, so we close the public hearing. Can I get a motion to close public hearing? Motion by Ms. Manzioni,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Simonson. Roll call, please.
Aye.
Aye.
So we will close that public hearing at 8:48. So moving back to the approval of resolution, Resolution 2423, Career and Technical Education Month. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve Resolution 2423, declaring February as Career and Technical Education Month.
I move that we do both resolutions at the same time. At a time?
So we'll do a sweeping, motion for Resolution 2423 as just read. We will also include Resolution 2223, National African American Heritage Month. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve Resolution 2223 and proclaim February as National African American History Month. Can I get a motion to approve?
I motion.
Sure. Oh, so she
I
motioned.
motion, he second.
Oh, I thought the motion was to do both of them at the same time.
Yes.
And, I get a roll call vote?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving right along. We have the consent calendar. Okay, so all matters listed under the consent calendar are considered by the board to be items that will be enacted by the board in one motion. There will be no discussion of these items prior to the time of the board vote on the motion unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent calendar. With that said, I would like a motion to approve the consent calendar with a stipulation, and that stipulation is Item number, well, it's 2.5, 22-23, school safety plan, specifically for the Bassett High School, be brought back for additional approval at the February board meeting. This is specific to the Bassett High School safety plan. The revisions need to include a more comprehensive plan with additional detail on various safety protocols for active shooter, earthquakes, campus fire, other types of disasters, and evacuation routes. I'm not pulling this item, but I'd like to approve the consent calendar with that stipulation.
Was that the motion?
With that stipulation,
Yes.
we're still approving it.
You're approving it. You're approving it. Discussion. So what it is when looking at the school safety plan, Bassett High School is just a summary.
Yes.
There's no detail attached. So because there is a time deadline, I guess to say, that is due to LACO by February. So we're gonna go ahead and approve it. However, it has to come back to us with that stipulation. So motion to approve the consent calendar with the stipulation that I just read. Can I get a motion?
May I add individual responsibilities within those? If that's something that's stipulated in all the other, who runs triage, who runs communication, that one is lacking that one as well. Individual responsibilities. Okay.
Standard format.
It is very standard. It will
Follow through with Mr. Vasquez on that. So, can we get a motion to approve the consent calendar with the stipulation and the stipulation added, including individual responsibilities?
Again,
Motion by Ms. Motion and seconded by Ms. Rivera.
you made the motion.
I made the motion.
She made a motion before
I seconded that, and then you made a motion right now.
to accept it with all the stipulations that she added
And
on.
I seconded
Technically,
that.
you did a substitute motion. Yeah.
You
sorry,
got all
yeah.
that, Alexander? Okay, we're good.
Yeah, yeah.
So, can I get a roll call vote then?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Nice.
We actually know how we're all thinking.
Okay, where am I doing?
Bottom.
Okay,
That's for now.
with that in mind, we move on to adjournment. The next regular board meeting will be held February 21st. We adjourned the regular board meeting of January 24th. Can I get a motion to adjourn the regular board meeting of January 24th?
So,
And thank you, Mr. Barajas. Roll call vote?
Aye.
No, I want to see here.
Yeah, right, that was kind of fun here.
aye.
Aye. Thank you, fellow board members. This meeting is adjourned at 8:54.